Yutyrannus may be my favorite modded creature I've played so far on Path of Titans. While my growth cycle was extremely uneventful, I found that my adult life was full of a good amount of hunts and lots of random fun moments. Soon after reaching full adult, I set out in search of real food. I wasn't sure exactly what I could handle as a solo Yuty, but I was willing to take a few L's to find out if necessary. I'd not found much to hunt, and I was getting pretty nervous about my hunger levels when I spotted a trio of Metalania. Now, if you've seen my Aloe video, you know that Megs are basically my arch nemesis. I couldn't seem to hit the dang things because of their incredibly low hitbox, and I didn't manage to survive them the majority of the time we crossed paths. So, when my hunger got lower than I was comfortable with, I decided I would have to target the Megs or I'd probably starve to death anyway. The two smaller ones initially wanted nothing to do with my fluffy butt, which is understandable. But when the adult made his way over, I decided to try and target him specifically. Jumping to different targets in a server with body down rules is just asking to die, in my opinion. All I had to do was kill one of them and I could eat in peace. Probably. So there was no sense in letting the smaller ones distract me too much. Unfortunately, Megs are good swimmers. So when my target became too injured, he escaped into the river and I had to refocus. Suddenly, another juvenile Yuty appeared. I'm not 100% sure if the Megs switching to target him was allowed, since we weren't grouped. But I was in fight mode and honestly didn't realize that it was another Yuty until after I swiped at it with my tail. I wasn't here to protect random babies after all, so if he wasn't a Yuty, he shouldn't expect any help from me, right? Anyway, I spotted my original target and went after it again. He was still pretty injured and I wanted my meal, so I ignored the juvie that was running around in the middle of my fight and went for the Meg. It wasn't until after the Meg jumped back in the river that I realized the juvie was another Yuty. And at this point the Megs likely assumed we were together. If he died, either the Megs would claim the body or I would have to. Either way, my hunt would be over. So I quickly added him to my group. Might as well, since my prey would target him anyway, whether we were grouped or not. The fight ended relatively quickly after that. One of the smaller Megs was much more injured than it appeared, and my bite finished him off easily. Sometime later, I jumped back online. After wandering around for a bit, I found myself hungry and not really sure what to do about it. The only thing I had seen was a Giga fighting a Sarco, neither of which I believed I would stand a chance against solo. After watching them fight for a few minutes, I decided it was time to move on. I still needed food, and waiting around watching other players fight wasn't going to fill that need. I didn't get far though before I heard footsteps just over the hill. I decided I'd hunt whatever that was. It didn't sound too big and I was hungry. Luckily, perhaps for all of us, what I heard turned out to be more Yuties. Now we're talking. That Giga was already injured, and with 3 of us, I was much less nervous about taking it on. After sussing out how the Giga moves, and what type of attacks it had, I landed several hits on him. Overall, I played the fight fairly safe, going in only when I felt there was enough of an opening, and getting back out again if my incoming attack was noticed. At one point, one of my teammates ran in front of the Giga, allowing it to bite them, as what I can only assume was a way to keep it from turning and getting sung off his butt. In the heat of the moment, though, I didn't recognize the strategy. I only saw one teammate getting chased and bitten repeatedly, and decided to run interference. It worked. The Giga stopped hitting Merc, and all 3 of us safely disengaged for a moment. The battle continued with the Giga attempting to take advantage of the rocks to try and trap us so that he could get more bites. By this point, I was gaining some confidence and taking more risks. Eventually, the Giga was hurting pretty badly. He decided to take advantage of the cliff so that we couldn't attack without dealing with his bites. Truthfully, I was in a good place health-wise and probably could have face-tanked a few hits. But for the sake of having a survival mindset, I opted to attempt some drive-by tail attacks instead. The tactic worked. The Giga was baited away from the cliff edge and to his very quick demise. The victory tasted sweet. This was my first big kill. I think I'm starting to like this game more than I expected I ever would. Of course, though, the Sarco decided to make his way over and take the remainder of our meal. He had, after all, injured the Giga before we got to him. With Green Valley fairly devoid of life, we decided to grab a drink at Big Quill and then move on to Grand Plains, where we were sure to find more action. In the plains, we were soon greeted by a host of other dinosaurs. We saw a large family of Rexes, a pair of Sucos, even a cerato. The latter ended up being a bit of a nuisance, though. Our lack of hostility toward him from the get-go made him feel much too comfortable around us, and no matter how many times we moved away and threatened called at him, he kept coming back. I didn't want to pick a fight with him as we were looking for larger prey to hunt, but after he tried to eat from a body we had claimed, I was ready to bite him. Mix packing isn't allowed on Arazoa after all, and I wasn't looking to get punished for a rule break if I could help it. Upon finishing the body we had found, Sung was still hungry enough that we could hunt. We'd had our eyes on the Rex family for a while, and now was the time to stage an attack. We quickly decided to target the adult, as it would be more fun overall. I spotted an opening and went in for the first attack, only to spot that same dang cerato moving in on our hunt. After telling the Cera to back off and stop trying to mix pack with us, we continued our fight as originally planned. The juvenile Rex kept hiding beneath the adult, so I did my best not to hit him with my attacks. It was a bit difficult to know which of the two I was hitting, though, so I was glad when he realized he was not the target and moved away. Annoying Cera wasn't done, apparently, and he moved in once again to attack our Rex. I was ready to kill him at this point, but switching targets during a hunt isn't allowed, so we did our best to just ignore or chase him away if he got too close to us. Eventually, the baby Rex came back to hide under the adult again. Annoying Cerato had attacked him while he was back and out of the way, so he was forced to put himself back in the middle of our action once more to avoid being killed. The Rexes, unable to land many hits on us, ultimately backed themselves up against a cliff. While I was ready to attempt more tail attack drive-bys to bait the adult out again, my teammates didn't want the fight to drag on, so we took the L and left the Rexes to continue on their merry way. One server restart and a new pack-made addition later, we decided to try and hunt a Theri. Mr. Claw Turkey is a force to be reckoned with, it turns out, due to his quick turning and wide hitbox with his claw attacks. With 4 of us, though, I figured we would probably be able to handle him as long as we were careful. And I don't know what kind of health these things have, but even after nearly 20 minutes of fighting, 3 out of 4 of us were well below half health, and he didn't appear to have even a scratch. With our healing roar and the Theri's use of terrain, the fight absolutely dragged on. It was not easy to land attacks without trading, and we couldn't really afford to take many more hits. We did our best to bait and land attacks when we could, but the Theri eventually just placed himself in water that was too deep for us to fight in. While the Rex earlier had been a fight I was willing to continue, I was ready to back down from this one. We couldn't attack the Theri in the water without trapping ourselves into our very slow swimming animation and taking heavy damage. There wasn't much of a point. One of us was bound to die long before the Theri. The pack didn't want to back down though, and eventually the fight ended as expected. 1 Yuty down and a small meal as a consolation prize. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and comment what dinosaur I should play next. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.